Excuse me. I'm in mommy mode right now. So, I wanted to discuss something about the feminine dynamic before it leaves me and before I forget to make this video. So, I discuss a lot on my platform on Facebook about the feminine dynamic and what it means to be a woman and walking with purpose and walking in the feminine energy. I think when you write things, that things can sometimes become misconstrued or people don't really 100% understand what you're saying. So it leaves room for, some silly ass bitches to come and try to argue or whatever because of what I give off when it comes to the feminine energy and when I discuss it. When I discuss the feminine energy, it is not to negate the fact that we have both. We are both feminine and masculine beings. There is no doubt about that. I understand that wholeheartedly. However, when I tell women to tap into their feminine energy, I am doing so that they can understand the feminine is where the magic happens. The feminine is the spiritual essence. The feminine is where you find yourself. It is darkness. And it's not darkness as in, the like dark as in nothingness. It's dark as in everythingness. It is the hidden aspect that we don't see. This world is composed of about 95 to 96% dark matter. That is feminine energy. That's Akasha. That is the essence of the feminine dynamic of the goddess energy. That is your fucking womb. That is the mind, whatever. That is the hidden element that we don't see that we need to be paying attention to. Because when we are only focused on the masculine or what is seen or light, we're focused on illusion. This shit is illusion. It's ever changing. The shit that we feel like we're touching and experiencing isn't even real. So being that it's not real and we're so focused on it, as spiritual beings that we are, what do you think that leads to? It leads to, depression. It leads to anxiety. It leads to us being disconnected from self because we understand subconsciously or in the hidden part of our mind that none of this shit is real. So we have to be sure, especially as women, to tap back into that dynamic because at one point in time, that's pretty much all the fuck we knew. We didn't know working and having to, deal with all these womb issues and shit like that. So when I discuss women tapping into their feminine energy, it's so that they can understand you need to get on your shit. This is the age of Aquarius. There is no excuse why you should not be tapping in spiritually, especially as a black woman. And I get so much drawback from women, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, when you are working in this masculine ruled society or the illusion of masculine ruled society, when you're ever going and you're constantly going, what do you think is going to happen? You are disconnected from your womb space. You're disconnected from your power. And this is where we have all these womb issues coming through, where we're dealing with women who have fibroids and endometriosis and issues with their fucking womb because they are disconnected. Connecting to the womb is probably one of the most important works that you will do because when you connect, you understand not only yourself, but you understand everything about this dynamic. You tap in so much that you'll start to have dreams of past lives. That's Akasha. Darkness is Akasha. Feminine is Akasha. It's the ethers. It's every fucking thing, the mystery of life that we all wonder about since birth. Like from the moment you're born with this baby brain, you're constantly trying to find your way back to the cosmic mother and her womb. You're constantly trying to go back to the womb. You're constantly trying to understand yourself and this dynamic of where we are, this foreign ass plane of existence. Because that's what it is. It's foreign. With many incarnations, we've done this so many fucking times, but it's still foreign to us because it is not where we are originally from. It's not our place. It's not our humble abode. This shit is fucking a prison according to the Gnostic text. This is prison. And by it being such an illusion, it's easy to get stuck in this shit. It's easy to constantly keep going. You disconnect and you forget that you have a whole another world outside of this that you need to be tapping into. And I feel like so many masculine based women, they attack when we say shit like this because it makes them feel like, one, they don't understand. Two, I guess it makes them feel, what's the word I'm looking for? They get defensive because, I mean, who the fuck wants to be told like, oh, you're masculine? Like, masculine is something, and that shows how fucked up things are, because we equate masculine with something bad. There's nothing wrong with being in your masculine energy. It's suitable for here because masculine is action oriented. It's getting shit done. It's logic, it's thinking, it's linear, it's focus. So we do definitely need our masculine, but as women, especially with the way our hormones, we're not the same as men. The way our hormones are set up, the way we are set up, we need to be in our feminine energy. That's just point blank, period. We need to be in our feminine energy. We need to balance it with the masculine, because we definitely don't need to be all the way in the feminine, because then that results in, depression, laziness, you being overtly feminine. We don't want to be overtly feminine. We want to be balanced. But we want to focus and utilize the feminine faculties, because that is essentially what helps us understand where we are in our position in life. When I discuss on Facebook, I discuss a lot about men being providers. And I also think that's misconstrued in that you should not do for self. I would never tell a woman not to have herself, not to be able to rely on herself, because at the end of the day, shall anything happen, you always need to be able to make sure that you're self-sufficient. I do not promote independent thinking. Oh, not independent thinking. I don't promote the whole independent woman rhetoric, because to me it's detrimental. Like, feminine energy isn't independent, it's interdependent, it's cohesive, it's taking into consideration the whole, it's holistic. And so when you're speaking of holistic, but you're going around saying I'm an independent woman, what you're doing is you are rejecting not necessarily dependentness. You don't want to be necessarily dependent, but you're singular. You're independent of anything, but that is masculine. This world that we live in is independent thinking. That's why we see ourself as separate from where we come from. That's why a lot of us feel powerless, or should I say, a lot of people feel powerless. I ain't gonna include myself in that shit, but I'm saying a lot of people feel powerless because they see themselves subconsciously or consciously as being independent of that cohesive type of energy, that cohesive source of energy. But the feminine dynamic is cohesive. It is interdependence. It's all together. It's holistic. So it does not see itself as separate from source. It sees itself as one with the source, just a manifestation of the source expressing itself in the physical. I mean, a manifestation of the source expressing itself in the physical. You understand that you are here to experience. You're either here to experience, learn, or teach. Sometimes a combination of all three. And the point is that you have to be able to be aware of things for you to understand your position. So when you're bringing awareness or light to the situation, you're bringing true light. The light of this world is the illusionary light. It is the light at which when we pass, they say, go into the light. No, fuck that. The darkness is us going back into the Great Mother. That is what we want. We want dark energy. Darkness is good. Through psychological programming in Hollywood and cartoons and things like that, they've made darkness something that is fucked up. It's bad. Even now you have so many like so-called conscious people who go around saying, black. Don't call yourself black, because black actually means white. But the definition that they pulled that from is the Germanic definition. If you go back further, black does not mean white. Black means darkness. Even the god the god Kali and Krishna. The goddess Kali and the god Krishna, their Sanskrit translation is black gods. Black is something that has always been associated with something that was good. It is the source from which we come from. And you will hear people say, no, it's not black, it's dark. We called ourselves dark. We never called ourselves black. We most definitely have always referred to ourselves as black, because black is darkness. It is synonymous. It is the same exact thing. Darkness is black. Where you get and run into this issue is that there were two different words in the Germanic language, black and Blake, which are both I guess would be pronounced as black, but they had two completely different meanings. So when you have two completely different meanings, but the word looks the same, shit, we have that in English now. So why would it be any different with Proto-Germanic languages? So when you're looking at those, you're looking at two different. One, black or Blake or however it's spelled, is pale. It's white, but it's a much later definition for the word. The earliest remnants of black is in Sanskrit and in Kemetic texts, where you have black land, black people, black gods. Nagas means black. Black and darkness is the same thing. So, with that being said, black is good. Darkness is great. You want to pay attention to darkness. Darkness is the feminine energy, it's the feminine dynamic. It is everything that you should be paying attention to. Your subconscious mind needs you to pay attention to it. The feminine dynamic needs you to pay attention to it, because this is, again, age of information. And the information that we really need to be paying attention to is the information of self-knowledge, self-accountability, self-awareness. If you're not paying attention to self-awareness and self-accountability and self-knowledge, then you're really doing yourself a disservice. A lot of people are trying to get back to the, spiritual systems, Ifa, Santeria, fucking Palomeombe, Obeah, so many different systems that people are paying attention to and worshiping, as it's like taking 50 steps back. We've been there, done that. It's time to move on. And then what you're moving on to is the understanding the feminine principle. Now, at one point in time, yes, the feminine principle was well understood. But then when you get into like the priestesshoods and then eventually leading to patriarchy, it starts to break down to where we come to now, where we're having to remember. You're not learning, you're remembering. The fact that you're even paying attention to some of this shit means that it's already encoded in your DNA, because the subconscious never forgets. Akasha never forgets. So you're just tapping into that Akashic energy, that Akashic substance, which is melanin, which is darkness. It's the feminine dynamic. So with that, me telling women, tap into your femininity, be more feminine, be feminine, because I see so many women that come like, we're both. And I understand that. Yes, we are both, and it is definitely about balance. You want to balance right and left brain, Shakti and Shiva. You want to find that balance. However, you need to start with the feminine, because the feminine represents darkness, and through darkness comes light, true light, which is the light of your mind, the knowledge of self, your true self. And with that, it's important that we focus on that feminine energy. Now, some ways you can focus and try to tap more into the feminine energy so that you can pull it and draw it out of you is watch the video on Lakshmi, part 1. Lakshmi is definitely a great way to do that. The Sri Yantra, I promote a lot because I love the Sri Yantra, especially for beginners. And the Sri Yantra is a beautiful way to tap into that substance. Think of the Sri Yantra as, okay, so you are the middle point, the bindu, that's your soul. The rest of the yantra, think of you choosing your experiences to live out and play out into the physical. That's all that is. So when you're implanting yourself in the womb of your mother, you are already chose your experiences. You get it? So it's like, how can I explain? You choose your mother. It's a contract, that because every person that we come in contact with is just contract. We create contracts with everyone. So there is nothing that you can say, this person did this to you. Once we start tapping into the feminine, we also have to understand accountability. And we have to understand that as you cannot call yourself a goddess if you cannot take accountability for the fact that you are constantly creating everything in your world. And this is why I am talking so much about, Lakshmi now, because Lakshmi is that energy where we begin to understand how to consciously manifest and stop allowing our subconscious to control our environment and our worlds. And your subconscious was more than likely programmed through your mothers who never healed. And that is why healing is important, because you tend to live out the experiences over and over again of your matriarchal line. This is all matriarch. This is why the feminine is so fucking important to really pay attention to, because we are under the illusion of patriarchy. It does not exist. Patriarchy is an ill-run matriarch. It's an ill-run matriarch. It is the matriarch hiding behind the illusion of the masculine dynamic, if that makes sense. So basically, women are still controlling and ruling this because women are the ones who birth the babies. So if you're birthing babies, and we always say children are the future, that's because they're going to go and become adults who create what this world looks like to them. Just as adults, we are creating what this world looks like to us. The adults before us created what the world looked like to them. It is imperative that you understand that women are controlling every dynamic of this because we are the physical manifestation of the goddess. And being that we are the physical manifestation of the goddess, everything from our subconscious mind is implanted into our children. And our children go on to carry around with them everything that we program them. So, for instance, when I speak on the Sri Yantra, and I say you're utilizing the Sri Yantra as a tool for you to understand that you're not separate from the Great Mother. You're implanting yourself back in the womb. When you implant yourself back in the womb, you become like an egg again, so to speak. And you are creating you're recreating yourself, you're rebirthing yourself. Prior to the spark, or prior to the light, prior to the sperm reaching the egg does not understand its consciousness. It's not separate from the mother. It is one with the mother. You are born with all the eggs that you will ever have. And they were being created within you while you were, growing inside your mother's womb. So when you're born with all these eggs, they've already been programmed for like 3 generations. So your grandmother, gets pregnant with your mother, who is creating her eggs at the time. And those eggs will go on to become you. One of those eggs will be going to become you. So whatever your grandmother was already experiencing is passing through to your mother, which then and thus is passing through to you because, again, her eggs are being programmed through her mother. So just think of all those generations interlapping each other where all these eggs are being programmed and all these women are being programmed and thus programming all these men. Because as women, we're programmed ahead of the game. Like men, they don't have eggs. So it's like, when a woman is pregnant with a boy, she's programming him. When a woman is pregnant with a girl, she's already programming 2 to 3 generations down the line. So with that being said, it is imperative that women understand the dynamic and the power of which they hold, which is found through the feminine dynamic. So getting in tune with that energy, understanding the feminine energy is what allows you to be able to tap more in spiritually. And I don't break it down how I am now on Facebook because it's so many things get lost in translation when you're just writing. So many things get lost in translation when it's just a whole bunch of fucking people just wanting to come on there and argue with you anyways, that they don't really care what you're talking about. They, just looking for something to argue about. So with that being said, the reason why I push femininity and women being able to sit in their femininity and having a provider is because it allows for women to have the opportunity to heal, one, so that this knowledge is passed through, because that's the time for this. The age of Aquarius is knowledge. Excuse me. Told you I'm on mommy mode. So the age of Aquarius is knowledge. And with that being said, knowledge leads to wisdom. And wisdom is feminine. Wisdom is the feminine dynamic. So in order for you to be able to heal, you have to go within the womb and clearing out that energy. For men do have a womb chakra, even though they don't have a physical womb. And the way that they tap into that to be able to heal is through the Great Mother energy. So it's imperative that men get in touch with their feminine energy too. The only reason why I speak to women more is because we're the progenitors. We're the progenitors of all of this shit. We create all this shit. So being that we create all this, it's up to us first to get in line, get information, and then men fall in line because they're only, women lead, men follow. It's not the other way around. We have been duped through the patriarchal lens to believe that men lead. They do lead in the physical because they are protectors. That is their role down here is protecting the feminine dynamic. And if a man is not able to protect the feminine dynamic, he is not tapped in enough into his divinity on his masculine side or understanding of the feminine energy or dynamic either. So it's imperative that you understand that the reason why I say women get a provider is not just so that she can sit around and, not do shit. I mean, if that's what you want to do, then it's your world. Shit, it's your world. Create it how you see fit. However, it's deeper than that. You being the one who births children, it's imperative that you get in touch with you, that you understand who you are on a solar and cosmic level, because you teach. You teach, and the longer we have the illusion and the what's the word? The illusion and ignorance. The longer we have the illusion and ignorance of this plane, the longer that we suffer. So women understand that your womb is everything. It is everything. It is the physical manifestation of the great cosmic womb. You have the great cosmic womb within you. And by you having the great cosmic womb within you, it means you hold all the power and secrets of this universe. You're literally the initiator. Women are literally the initiators. You bring men into knowledge. You bring children into knowledge. You hold all the keys to liberation within you. And not to say that men don't, because they can, but they just have a harder time tapping into the feminine. They usually tap into the feminine through a woman. So with that, you having all the keys to liberation within you, it's imperative that you get in touch and get familiar with that. And understanding that I feel like Venus is like an energy that is perfectly understood to be able... How can I say? Venus is a good energy to get in touch with, to tap more into the femininity on a material level. But I feel like really truly tapping in is transcending all these planetary elements. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I stopped doing astrological readings, because I felt like it's not time for that to me. Like, it's good to be able to understand it, but it's better to be able to transcend it, because that's the whole point of this time, is to be able to transcend anything that binds you to the physical. And that's one of the things that binds us to physical, is being so focused and so stuck on astrological components. Astrology is cool. It's a nice and useful tool to understand who you are in the physical, but it is a tool that you need to be using to transcend that. You are not who you are because you're a fucking Leo. That is some human shit. My daughter is loud. But that's some human shit. Like, being so tied or focused on astrological components, you're a Cancer, moon in the 3rd house, Pluto in the 12th, all that shit, that's a map, really. You made that. Like, your astrological chart is a yantra in and of itself. Your astrology is a yantra. You are in the middle. You created all those components. I'm going to make myself a Leo. I'm going to put my sun in the 12th house. I'm going to put my Jupiter in the 8th house. I'm going to, make it conjunct my Mars for this type of energy. You did that so that you could be able to study it, to understand you, so that you could liberate yourself from your humanity. That's all that is. So I don't want to make this too drawn out. I just basically want to say that I am going to touch more on some of these things in future videos. I wanted to get that out there because I just don't want there to be any confusion about why I push femininity or men being providers is so that you can stay in that feminine energy. It's time to tap the fuck in. Like, all this working and hustling and bustling like men do, let them do that shit. But let them do it to a point where if you are married or you're with a significant other and you're working in your feminine energy, make it to where eventually they won't have to hustle and bustle either. Because as a woman, you are an expander, you are a multiplier. You can do that. You get them more in their feminine energy. And when they're more in their feminine energy, they're more creative and they can find other ways of making income where they don't have to be in this world either. So, with that being said, you come first because you are the leader of the unseen. You help manifestations take place through men and through children. So that is with that. Like, just be very aware of your feminine dynamic. Be very aware of your feminine energy, because if you're not, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like, tap all the way the fucking, like, I want you to be so goddamn badass that you just think of some shit and it manifests and you're just like, damn. You don't even get shocked by it no more. It's just like, okay. Because that's what womb power is. Being able to pull things in that you wanna attract. Being able to pull whether it's men in or opportunities or money or whatever the fuck. Having that true womb power, you exude this certain energy about you where you draw things in that help you in this physical. Where you're sitting there having dreams about shit before it happens in grave detail. Like, being able to tap into the womb space is being able to remember everything that has ever fucking happened here in this plane, because we've been experiencing for so long and we just forgot. We forgot. We chose to fall asleep. We'll touch more on that later too, but the point is, it's time to tap the fuck in. It's not time to play around with this shit anymore. Like, we can joke and stuff like that. It's fine to live your life the best that you can. But at the same time, understand that you are beyond this. This is small in comparison to what you come from. So that's all. And I'll be touching more later.